How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Weather Sponge 1000, and today we're going to focus on this next major snowstorm that's expected to impact the Midwest as well as the Northeast, where you also could experience very heavy flooding rains along the Northeast coast. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So let's begin by taking a look at the current radar for the United States at this time, and this is a trough that's expecting to bring very heavy snow throughout the Northeast into tomorrow. So you definitely need to prepare for a major snowstorm that's expected to impact a lot of the interior Northeast. But we're seeing snow right now throughout Minnesota and extending to North Dakota as well, where we are seeing mostly, I'd say, moderate snow showers at this time. And then just to the south, you do have some thunderstorm activity, as there is just enough of a stark contrast when it comes to temperature that we're seeing an unstable environment for thunderstorm activity to occur. And some of these thunderstorms might be severe for southward, so you want to be aware of that. But further northward, you see that the temperature is cold enough for snow, and it's expected to be cold enough for snow as this trough heads further and further eastward, where we're going to see potentially up to, if not over, a foot of snow in some areas in the Northeast. Taking a look at the current temperatures, you'll see why we're seeing a strengthening low pressure system, and you're seeing why we're expecting a major snowstorm for the Northeast, because we do have an unstable environment located right around the Midwest at this time, right around the Ohio River Valley, where we do see temperatures hovering around the 50s right around Tennessee and Kentucky. But you don't need to go very far up north to receive temperatures below freezing, which shows that there's a very stark contrast when it comes to temperature between a small distance. And with instability like this, we're bound to experience a strengthening low pressure system that will be strong enough to enhance the chance of a major snowstorm for the Northeast, where as this low pressure system begins to strengthen, the winds will also increase, and that will only increase the amount of unstable air further, because that would mean that the northerly flow increases. The cold air interacts more with that warm air as a result of that northerly flow, and we just see an even more unstable environment, to where we're going to continue to see the low pressure system strengthen as it heads further eastward to a point where we're going to see a significant nor'easter just off the Northeast coast. Now, to show you guys what the GFS model is currently forecasting at this time, now it seems very certain we're going to experience a major snowstorm. It's been like that, I'd say, for the past couple of days now, that the GFS model and the Euro model have high confidence that we're going to see heavy snow throughout the interior Northeast. But what was a little bit more uncertain until recently was where exactly that rain snow line will be. But it seems likely that it'll stay just far enough north from the Interstate 95 corridor cities such as Boston, New York City. So I wouldn't expect any snow in those cities at all, as you'll need to go several miles northwest to experience your first snowfall throughout the Northeast, at least your first signs of snowfall. So this won't affect any of the major cities when it comes to snowfall. It'll primarily be a rain event for you guys, a heavy rain event at that. So you need to be aware of the chance of flooding along the coast. But if you head further northwestward, you see the primary threat will be a snowstorm and potentially blizzard conditions at times, especially further northward, once this low pressure system really begins to intensify as the amount of unstable air increases, because we see the pressure drop down to 993 millibars, and we sort of see a negative tilt develop, where we're seeing the warm air filter in just north of this cooler air mass, and that creates an extremely unstable environment that will rapidly intensify this low pressure system as it heads further northward, and enhance the wind speed as a result, as well as the precipitation rate. So we could see heavy snowfall and rainfall at times throughout many areas of the Northeast. But like I said earlier, the forecast is pretty certain at this point. We're only less than 48 hours out from this event, so the forecast is pretty much ironed out for the most part. There is still that uncertainty where exactly that rain snow line will be, because again, any few degree difference could make a big could make a big difference in terms of what you experience if you're relatively close to a rain snow line. But I don't expect any sort of drastic changes with the trajectory of this low pressure system. So at this point, if your forecast is to receive snow, you need to prepare for snowfall. And if your forecast is to receive a heavy rain threat, you need to prepare for a heavy rain threat, because the forecast is highly certain at this point. Now that both of the main computer models are agreeing with the magnitude of the snow and rain you're going to receive, as well as the trajectory of the low pressure system, you see that the European model is nearly identical to the GFS model at this time, which shows that there is very high confidence with the forecast. Now, to show you guys what both of the computer models are forecasting when it comes to snowfall, you see that it's mostly similar for the most part. Even with even the location of the rain snow line is very similar between two models. If we were to move forward, you see that a large area of the European model is expecting over 6 inches of snow, but we have to keep in mind also this is assuming that 1 inch of precipitable rainfall equates to 10 inches of snowfall, and in a lot of cases, this ratio typically doesn't apply because each snowstorm is different, and depending on the temperature in the mid to lower levels of the atmosphere, the moisture content with each snowflake could vary. So this ratio isn't 100% accurate all the time, but it at least gives us a ballpark estimation of how much snow to expect. And also, this forecast is assuming that every snowflake that falls from the sky accumulates and sticks on the surface, which of course isn't at all the case most of the time, because it takes time before the snow actually begins to stick on the surface. So the snowfall is a little bit less than what you see here, but for the most part, I'd say, especially for the interior portions of upstate New York, you should expect over 6 inches of snow, and a lot of Pennsylvania, the interior portions and the higher elevations of Pennsylvania, you should expect maybe around 3 to 6 inches of snow is more likely. And you see that the rain snow line is well further to the northwest of the major cities such as New York City, Boston, so it won't be any sort of threat for you guys. But you see that the snow accumulation isn't that far from New York City. You don't need to go very far to the northwest to experience our first snowfall. So if you happen to be moving towards the northwest, head into this early week, you might need to watch out for some snowfall in the New York City, just outside of New York City metropolitan area. Now, to show you guys what the GFS model is forecasting when it comes to snowfall, so if we were to continue to move forward, you see very similar forecasts to what the European model is saying, pretty much almost exactly identical. The only difference is that maybe the snow is a little bit further southward in the GFS model scenario, where it's impacting more the northwestern areas of New Jersey, and it's a little bit further southward along the Hudson River Valley. So this could affect areas maybe closer to the New York City metropolitan area, but overall, I still do think that this snowfall threat will primarily be exclusive to the interior northeast, so you want to be sure to keep that in mind throughout the northeastern United States. Now, snow won't be the only issue with this northeaster. We also need to pay very close attention to wind, because of course, as the low pressure system deepens, we're gonna see a stronger amount of wind along with it. So if we were to take a look at the 10-meter wind forecast provided from the GFS model, if you were to continue to move forward, you see that the winds, especially off the coast, are very strong. We're right along the surface, the sea surface, we're seeing winds equivalent to 40 knots, which is equivalent to right around 50 to 60 mile per hour sustained winds, which is very significant and could bring up the surf along the New England coast. And for the areas closer to land, I'd say sustained winds around 20 to 30 miles per hour are more likely, with wind gusts, of course, higher than that, potentially 40 to 50 at times throughout New England, more likely, where the storm will be at its peak intensity relative to where the United States is. So you definitely need to pay close attention to the wind. Make sure if you have any loose items outside, you might want to bring them inside for the early week, because those could be projectiles that could damage your property. So you want to be sure to bring those loose items that are outdoors inside. And Power outages, I don't think this. I think power outages will primarily be isolated because I don't think there's going to be necessarily an extremely significant wind threat, but the threat is certainly there, especially if you're closer along the New England coast. So make sure to be aware of that as well. And the rain threat will also be the issue. If we were to take a look at the total accumulated rainfall forecast, you see that a lot of the areas of the Northeast should experience right around 1 to 2 inches of rain. And while that might not sound like a lot, we have to keep in mind that that very recently, and if you take a look a couple videos back in my YouTube channel, northern New Jersey was flooded. So the rivers, a lot of the rivers right around northern New Jersey and other areas in the Northeast are still elevated from the last rainstorm that passed by not too long ago. So to add another 1 to 2 inches of rain on top of it could bring another flood threat throughout the Northeast. So you want to be aware of the chance of flooding as well. And we could see heavy rain at times, so flash flooding isn't out of the possibility either, because we could see precipitation rates at a very go at a very fast clip, which could lead to flash flooding in some areas. So make sure to be aware of that throughout the Northeast as well. Now, taking a look at my snowfall forecast. So I'm expecting 6 to 12 inches for a lot of the interior Northeast. This is primarily affecting more of the higher elevations of the Northeast, such as the Adirondack Mountains. Of course, the Catskill Mountains are getting involved. Portions of the Pocono Mountains as well. You need to pay close attention to the possibility of over 6 inches of snow. And along the mountains of Vermont and New Hampshire, you could also experience 6 to 12 inches, 3 to 6 inches of snow just south of that, as it doesn't seem like the low pressure system will necessarily be potent enough to bring as heavy snowfall. And of course, the temperature might not be cold enough to support for a high amount of accumulating snowfall for us southward. So you definitely need to keep that in mind still, though, because 3 to 6 inches of snow could still be significant, and even 1 to 3 inches of snow at times, especially if it falls at a fast clip. So you want to make sure to prepare for tomorrow and into Tuesday for heavy snowfall. And a flood threat, of course, exists further eastward, where you are likely to experience very heavy rainfall equivalent to 1 to 2 to maybe even over 2 inches of rain. So you want to pay close attention to that along the Northeast coast. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for this video. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content, and I hope you guys have a great day.